This yin practice is focused at the third eye chakra, the sixth chakra, ajna. For today's yin practice, you'll want a bolster or some pillows or rolled up blanket, as well as some blocks or something block-like at home. And we're going to begin seated with the hips slightly raised, either sitting up onto your bolster-like prop or a block, rooting through the sits bones, and then just growing tall up through the spine, feeling length through the spine. We'll allow that energy to run up and down the length of the spine, moving through all of the chakras. As we begin to bring the awareness to the space between the center of the brow, closing down through the eyes if that feels okay for you. You can even bring a couple fingers to just place some pressure at the center of the brow, helping to draw the attention here, or even some gentle tapping. Maybe taking note if you're holding some physical tension, if we're having a little bit of a headache or feeling tense in this part of the face or the body. This can be indicative of just a little bit of blockage with our third eye or intuition center. Just some nice big deep breaths. So we'll bring that awareness to the space at the center of the brow, and then just drawing it back right into the center of the head. I'm just taking a couple more breaths here. When we feel open and aligned through the third eye chakra, we feel really connected with our intuition. We have the ability to see with clarity without imprinting past experiences or beliefs on situations. We're able to just have a little bit broader perspective, maybe being able to see things from two sides or multiple sides, or just being a little bit more open to others' perspectives. Gently blink the eyes opened if they were closed for you, and we're just going to rock the head side to side here gently. I'm beginning to find nice gentle circles in the neck. Bringing that head through midline, let's slowly begin to drop the chin to chest. Thinking about allowing the forehead to feel heavy, allowing gravity to pull it down towards the mat space. Taking a couple of breaths here. Good. Our next inhale, let's gently lengthen up through the neck, through the spine. We'll shift those hips off of that prop, and we're going to slide that bolster or whatever you're using at home underneath of the knees to provide a little bit of support. Root through those sits bones, sitting up nice and tall. We're going to find a nice gentle fold. We want some connection here for the third eye with a prop, so we can take a block if you're working with blocks, or whatever you might have at home as well. Just begin to gently hinge forward until you feel that connection between the forehead and the prop. If we wanted to lift up a little bit more, we could stack a couple blocks, supporting them with the hands. So really letting the weight of the forehead rest down heavy into the blocks. And we're going to remain here for a couple moments, a few cycles of breath, making sure that the body feels safe and feels supported. If the awareness begins to wander, we'll just bring it back to the center of the brow, and then dropping it just back slightly right into the center of the head. And a mantra we could use throughout practice could be, I see things clearly, or I am connected with my intuitive wisdom. I see clearly. I am connected with my intuitive wisdom. Some indications that suggest that we might be feeling a little bit unaligned through the third eye is if we're stuck in a lot of judgment for self and for others, if we're having difficulty making decisions, if we feel like we're stuck on the fence and either feeling as though there's not a good option to choose, or maybe that both options feel really equal and just not having the ability to move forward in one direction. Or maybe sometimes too, that can be indicative that we're not even exploring all of the options around us. We can be very stuck on kind of two polarized options, and maybe there's an option C if we just take the time to get quiet, zoom out a little bit, and have that broader perspective. And also if we seem to be living recurring patterns, the same patterns coming up for us over and over, the same types of hard lessons. Even if we've been doing the work and feel like we've moved past it, we might see the same thing come up in a little bit different situation. And this could just be a little bit of a cue to do a little bit more work here. Maybe we are really clinging to beliefs that aren't serving us, and then we continue to invite in those experiences. Maybe we need that little shift of perspective, and also maybe we are not getting quiet enough to listen to that divine wisdom held within all of us. We also maybe feel unaligned here if we seem to be caring more about others' opinions than our own. We're always asking advice from others and following that blindly, as opposed to taking that advice and sitting with it and seeing how it feels for us and trusting that intuition. Good. On our next inhale, let's just support that block we're resting to slowly begin to round up. We're going to be using a lot of pressure through the third eye today, so hopefully you don't have anywhere to be right after. Sometimes there can be a little bit of a red mark after we've done this type of work. And we're going to slide that block or that bolster, out from underneath of the knees and just begin to stretch one leg out away from us. Reaching for those props once again. A couple of options here as we head into a gentle fold. You can stack your blocks almost like a little bit of a T to provide some support. Maybe just using one block if that feels okay for your body, or we can find something a little more supportive, again, stacking pillows, couch cushions, wherever we want to be if we want to be a little bit more raised, a little bit further down. So take a moment to see which variation feels best for you, ensuring that the body feels really supported. Letting the forehead rest heavy. And let the hips feel heavy here as well, as we are also inviting length to the back of that hamstring, the low back. Deeply connected in with the breath. We tend to live out, I'll call them people-pleasing habits, where we are scared of letting others down, that we are always listening more to others' opinions and perspectives than our own, then this can be sometimes challenging work to dive into. But just always knowing and remembering that deep down, we know what's best for each of us, and we know what we need to do to become the best version of ourselves so that we can contribute to the world, to the collective. So just even giving yourself that permission to begin exploring what intuition looks like. And know that as you begin this work in our lives, especially if those around us are used to us always just being agreeable or going along with what's asked of us, that sometimes a little bit of resistance can come up from those in our lives if we begin to listen a little more deeply to ourselves and following our own guidance. Just something to be aware of. Good. On our next inhale, let's slowly rise up. Good, and let's switch legs here. So stretching the other leg out away from you, inviting the sole of the foot in. And we're going to use the same variation. So however you'd stack those blocks or use those props on that first side, we'll find that on the second side. Gently hinging, feeling supported. Connected with the breath. I see clearly. I'm connected to and trust my intuition. And think away our energy flows and how our chakras have reciprocals. So our third eye chakra, the sixth, its main reciprocal would be our second chakra, the sacral chakra, which represents our creativity and sensuality. So maybe just, without judging or analyzing too much, notice how when we're not connected in or listening to that intuition, we might be also blocking our flow of creativity. That ability to feel joy. This might be not listening to what it is that we need. This might be sometimes beliefs that have been passed on to us about culturally or just family beliefs about behaviors that are unacceptable, that are maybe something that intuitively feel really connected for us. So again, just maybe exploring what that means for you. And as we inhale, slowly beginning to round up. We'll take those props, just placing them off to the side. And then beginning to sweep the feet over to one side. We'll come through a hands and knees position. Anytime I come through hands and knees, I usually like to move through a little bit of cat-cow, especially in our yin practice where we're holding shapes, just allowing some movement through the spine, maybe a little side to side. So just take a moment and intuitively listen to your body, just maybe finding a little bit of movement in whatever way you're needing. And then beginning to walk those knees wider than hips, bringing the toes in towards one another, either at a touch or just a little bit closer together than the knees, sitting our hips back to our heels and then beginning to melt down to our child's pose. We want the head and neck to feel really supported here. So either resting the forehead right down to the mat space or reach for one of those props. Bolster or using a block. at whatever height, just to lift the floor up a little bit. And those arms can be extended out long in front of you, or you can keep them in a little closer, maybe even stacking palms, resting the forehead. As long as it feels okay for your neck, maybe even rocking the head side to side here, really massaging over the center of the brow. Our third eye chakra is also one of our more spiritual base chakras and can represent our ability to see beyond the physical, to understand that there's so much that the eyes can't see, or the hands can't maybe tangibly feel. And that's a little bit of trust that there's so much that we maybe intellectually can't understand. But again, that big broader perspective. As we begin to find alignment through our third eye chakra, it can allow us to become more open-minded, more open to ideas or beliefs. So we begin to explore what really aligns with us versus what we've been told is the truth, the ways we've been told to view the world. Staying nice and connected with the breath. Let's begin to walk those hands in under the shoulders, pressing ourselves up through kneeling. And then once again, just allowing that little bit of intuitive movements. So maybe a little cat-cow or shifting through the spine. Your body might even be asking for a downward facing dog. And stepping those knees back into hip width apart, we'll find a close like child's pose. Beginning to sit back to the heels and then rounding ourselves right down, placing the forehead either to the mat space or a prop, your choice. And this time we're going to run our arms alongside the legs, palms facing up or even reaching back to grab for the soles of the feet or the heels. So once again, feeling that connection between the mat space or the prop and the center of the brow. When I feel like my third eye is cluttered, I'll often, as I'm here, think about draining out whatever is cluttering or blocking it. So if that's a visualization that feels good for you, you can just even imagine whatever's blocking this third eye just pouring out through the forehead, into the mat space, into the earth, just releasing and letting it go. And this can be in opinions and perspectives of others that aren't serving us. This can also be our own opinions and perspectives that are no longer serving us. Connected into beliefs that are outdated, no longer serving us. So you can think about this almost like doing our spring cleaning or cleaning out our closet. It's just getting rid of those those beliefs, just like we would get rid of the pieces of clothing or the shoes or whatever it is that are no longer aligned with us, that no longer fit for us. As we clear away that clutter, it's much easier to feel that clarity. That might even be something you feel drawn to do. Our physical space is so connected with our energetic bodies as well. So if you feel called to do so, maybe set aside some time to clean out your home or declutter a closet or a cupboard, and just notice how that makes you feel. It can offer and invite a lot more clarity into the mind. When we're surrounded by physical clutter or distractions, mental and emotional, it's definitely a lot harder to get quiet and connect in with our intuition. Let's begin to guide those hands underneath the shoulders as we press ourselves up, sitting back to the heels. Just take a couple of breaths here. Gently making our way to standing, either just stepping those feet up, or if you want to head through a downward facing dog, tiptoe those feet up. We're going to make our way into a supported standing fold. So feel free to reach for those props behind you. The feet can be hip width apart. You can take a little bit wider stance here. Just again, let your body guide you. Trust your intuition. Your body will tell you what you need in this shape. Softening through the knees, hinge at the hips, and then just begin to fold forward. So hands can come to mat space or to your blocks. If you wanted to take props at a height, we could create again that little stand for the head to rest to. The chin can come to chest. Just feeling the opening through the forehead. Also releasing through the crown of the head. So again, we can think about almost draining out any of the clutter, any of the blockage through the third eye and the crown chakra here in our forward fold. Finding stillness, or feel free to find some gentle movement if that feels good for you. Maybe just shifting weight from side to side or gently rocking front and back. Let's take 3 more big, deep breaths. Soften through the knees, gently begin to round up. Coming all the way through standing. If those feet are wide, let's just heel toe or step them in, finding our mountain shape. Elongation through the spine, through the body. And connecting the palms, bringing the thumbs right up to the center of the brow. Closing the eyes if that feels safe for you, and just begin to bring awareness here. Give ourselves permission to release any physical tension held in the forehead or the head. Releasing any of that mental clutter. And also releasing any emotional clutter that might be held here. our breath. And release those arms down by our sides. Nice big deep breath in and out. So we invite ourselves back down to seated. Sitting right onto your mat space or maybe up onto that bolster or pillow once again. Feeling supported through the spine. We're going to close out our yin practice here, moving through our alternate nostril breath, just bringing a little bit more alignment into the energetic body, but also bringing awareness right to the center of the brow. So choosing whichever hand you'd like to place to the face, we're going to take our 2-piece fingers, placing them to the center of the brow, and taking the thumb, we're going to block off one side of the nose as we take a nice big inhale through the other side. Taking either the ring or the pinky finger, we're going to block off that nostril as we release the thumb and exhale out that side. Inhale through the thumb side. Blocking, exhale through the finger side. Inhale through the finger side. Blocking, exhale through the thumb side. We're going to continue with this rhythm and this pattern for probably about 10 cycles of breath, keeping a little bit of pressure at the center of the brow as we bring our awareness here. Know that if this breath doesn't feel good or begins to feel distracting, or you feel yourself getting kind of lightheaded, then just release the thumb and the finger from the nostrils and just allow yourself to return to a nice, supported, balanced breathing pattern. Move through 3 more cycles of breath. Letting the hand fall down to the lap, just returning to a natural balanced breath pattern. I encourage you to stay here for a few more moments, connected in with the breath, allowing that third eye opening to continue, or maybe reaching for third eye chakra meditation. I see clearly, I trust, and I am connected to my intuition. Thank you so much for joining me. Namaste.